Netflix releasing never-before-seen video of Sean Diddy Combs filmed just days before his arrest on charges of sex trafficking and racketeering in 2024. The footage is part of a 4-part docuseries, Sean Combs: The Reckoning, premiering Tuesday.
How did you get that footage of Diddy?
I figured most journalists would not disclose their sources.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage is now seeing the light of day. Perhaps.
Combs' team firing back in a statement to NBC News, saying the Netflix so-called documentary is a shameful hit piece and that they relied on stolen footage that was never authorized for release. His team sending a cease and desist to Netflix.
Indeed, man. I mean, had to bring you back, man. This documentary got everybody talking and people going at it. So, it was only right to bring you back and get your point of view, man. But I want to get right into it, man. 50 and Ja. How you feel about both of them going at it? You seen it?
I couldn't do nothing but see it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because 50, tried to smash him with one of the stories that we told on Art of Dialogue before. But what people don't realize is that the story that they put out there is like that having to have some money to keep Big and Craig Mack around before he got to Clyde Davis. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't able to tell that story because they didn't have no intel on that story or what went down, or they didn't do their investigations right, which he also led up to the reason why Wolf ain't here today. You understand? They didn't tell that story. They didn't tell a story about Jessica Rosenbaum, who was at the City College situation. You understand? When it was Puff, Heavy D, and Jessica, and that was the Valley Mob. That's the only way. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And people they didn't even put that in the documentary. Wolf ended up losing his life.
The Diddy documentary has detonated across the industry, rattling insiders and leaving major players visibly uneasy. But years before 50 Cent ever touched the project, one voice had already been sounding alarms about Diddy's empire, Gene Deal. And now he's stepping forward with claims that shift the entire narrative. Deal insists there was material meant for the film that never saw daylight, footage and perspective he believes were deliberately excluded, forcing an uncomfortable question into the spotlight. Why erase someone positioned to expose the deeper layers? Viewers assume Gene declined involvement, but he flatly rejects that story, saying he was lined up early on before the direction mysteriously changed. According to him, initial talks were serious, calls exchanged, roles discussed, a bold blueprint forming that aimed to capture every angle of the bad boy era through multiple voices spanning business, background, and street reality to deliver a version too complete to dilute. Then the atmosphere shifted. Deal claims once financial control and decision-making entered the mix, the structure behind the documentary stopped making sense, promises blurred, authority became questionable, and the credibility tied to the project's name didn't carry the weight people believed it did, triggering the quiet breakdown that ultimately pushed him out and left a story half-told.
I had to bring you back. This documentary got everyone talking, man. A lot of people want to know why you wasn't in it, man.
Well, first and foremost, I thought I was going to be in the documentary at first until I started talking to that director. I think her name is Stapleton, I don't know her name. I don't know, man. Me and 50 talked like 45 minutes. The producers had been calling me and everything. So this one night, 50 called me up and, they got him on the phone, man. He was just talking. We was talking about old times. Sit down with Black Hands, sit down with, with Puff Kids, the whole Puff situation, and this documentary that he's going to be doing. You know what I'm saying? So I told him that I was going to, have Kirk and Tim. Kirk would be the one who talk about the business part of it. Tim would be the one who talk about the growing up phase with Diddy and everything and over there working in the record industry with him and stuff like that. They was like family. And I was going to talk about, you know, the street stuff, what was going on with Bad Boy, you know, with the security, with Wolf, with the city college, with, you know, the time that I knew about when I was with him up until about early 2004 or something like that. But basically the streets and then the traveling with him and the atmosphere and everything. And then go back into the Notorious Big stuff with the Tupac and the whole 9 yards, all the stuff that I knew, you know what I'm saying? So we was talking and he sounded like, yo, listen here, they gonna spare no expense with this whole documentary. So I said, all right, cool. So what I did was I spoke to Tim and I spoke to Kirk Burroughs. And I was like, yo, because I had Tim's number. Tim didn't know how to get into touch with Kirk. Kirk didn't know how to get into touch with Tim. But Kirk was trying to tell me, you know, give him the number with the Tim. I said, nah, I ain't doing that. You know, so I gave one of the producers the number in the whole 9 yards to get in touch with Tim because I want to see him get money because I know Tim got a hell of a story with Puff. So then I talked to Tim and I told him, yo, listen here, man, we should go in as a package deal. You know, all three of us, we could tell a hell of a story about this whole documentary. You know what I'm saying? From front to start. You know, and then whatever stuff that they get and everything like that. So yo, let's go in there and ask them for 50 a piece. You know what I'm saying? So Tim was like, with it, yo, Gene, whatever, you know, go ahead like that. Kirk was like, yeah, okay, cool, Gene. You know, it was like a general census that we was gonna do this in a whole package deal. You know what I'm saying? And then I started speaking to the producers and everything like that because 50 had told me himself that they was going to spare no cost in doing this because he wanted to tell the story and he wanted to tell the story like it was supposed to be told and everything like that. I said, yeah, okay. So then the director, I got to get her name, man, because it don't even sound, I want to put her on blast because she was telling me, you know, she was saying to me that what I was asking for was crazy and they wasn't spending money like that. I'm talking about you got footage, you got clothing, you got I was doing footage, I had pictures, all the stuff that I had, you know, you could figure out a way to pay a brother and stuff like that. And then I was telling her about some prices that I've already received and I had the invoices to show it. And then she was calling me like I was lying. I'm like, yo, who do you think you talking to? You know what I'm saying? And she was talking about, you know, there's no way nobody paid. Nobody what? I say, first of all you people come with these documentaries and stuff. The first thing you tell me, y'all tell these people out here that y'all don't pay and y'all pay. You give, if you can make a picture look like $10,000, $15,000, you know what I'm saying? You can sit here and tell me that you're going to pay me for my time sitting right down here with y'all. You understand? So then, you know, one thing led to another. And I was like, yeah, all right, well, then, you know, F you. You know, I spoke to 50. And then she said 50. And this is exact words that came out her mouth. 50 does not determine what goes in and go out of this documentary. And he definitely don't pay. He determine what somebody get paid. It's not his documentary like that. I was like, oh, so if it's not his documentary and I spoke to him like that, I don't need to be doing nothing with you because I'm doing this on the strength of him. But you gonna pay me if I do it. So it went back and forth, you know what I'm saying, for a little bit, and then they had Kirk Burroughs giving me calls and everything like that. What are you calling me for?
Gene Deal didn't just criticize the documentary. He started exposing what he believes were intentional blind spots. And the most glaring omission for him was the death of Anthony Wolf Jones, Diddy's longtime bodyguard and, in Gene's words, the true pillar behind Puff's entire security machine. Wolf wasn't just standing nearby. He controlled logistics, protection strategy, and critical decision-making during Bad Boy's most dangerous years, fully woven into the inner workings while chaos surrounded the label, yet the series barely acknowledges his role or his fate. Gene directly challenges the documentary's version of events, rejecting its attempt to funnel responsibility into a simplified East Coast versus West Coast storyline that he says conveniently avoids deeper accountability. What makes Wolf's near erasure even more unsettling, according to Deal, is that Wolf repeatedly voiced security concerns and refused travel unless strict conditions were met. He felt the threat building long before things spiraled and warned that certain movements should never happen, always choosing safety over image while remaining loyal to the circle anyway. For Gene, minimizing someone so central isn't accidental. It signals deliberate narrative control, and if Wolf's story could be softened into silence, it forces a larger, uncomfortable question. How many other critical realities were reshaped or removed to keep certain people protected and certain truths buried?
Anthony Wolf Jones had already told them, if you're not taking two tour buses of my niggas from the Valley, that's Co-op City in the Bronx, the Valley in the Bronx. If you're not taking these 2 tour buses of my niggas out there, I'm not going. Had told Puff them. Had told Kirk Burrows. You understand? I went down there and Kirk Burrows called me up. He's like, yo, Gene, you and Wolf, I got y'all tickets to LA. I said, all right, cool. So I go down there and I pick up the tickets to LA. I got Wolf ticket. So I'm calling Wolf up. I said, yo, Wolf, I got your ticket to go to LA. Wolf said, I ain't going. I said, what you mean you ain't going? He said, yo, Gene, I ain't gonna tell you how I'm making I ain't gonna tell you how to make your money, but I'm gonna let you know this. I told Puff them if they wasn't gonna take 2 tour buses of my niggas out there with us, I'm not going. Wolf is the head of all the functions that has to do with Puff dealing with security. I have my own contract with Puff, yeah. Paul Offord ran Green Gate Security, which is the daily operations of Puff stuff. That's his house, his cars, his transportation. He ran the office, the bad boy office, the clothing, all. He ran the daily operation with his security. Wolf is over whatever's happening with Puff. You understand? Wolf tells Puff them and tell Kirksboro them, no, if y'all not going out there right, nobody should go out there at all. Kirk calls me, I said, yo, Gene, you gonna go? I said, yeah, I'll go, bro. He said, Gene, I said, yo, dog, but we shouldn't be going out there. I tell Kirk the whole, yo, Gene, all y'all gonna be doing is going to the studio and y'all gonna go to Soul Train and go to the studio. Y'all not hanging out, y'all not doing nothing. All me and Puff did when we went there that month was hang out. And I told people all the time, and I said in the documentary before, I thought this kid had a death wish because all we did was hang out. We never saw Big at not one of the events that me and him went to. The House of Blues, movie theaters, not the California, the Celebrity Club, I guess. Is it Celebrity? No, begins with a C. Never seen him in none of the clubs, none of the places. You understand? Big ain't coming to none of the places. The one time Big went out is when he got. The one club that he went out to is and that's where he got. So Wolf did not and was not going anywhere that had to do with California. And it wasn't because of the Jake situation. It was that he wanted to be safe, and the only way he felt safe if he was going out there with the dudes from his clique. And that was the Valley Mob. That's the only way. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And people they didn't even put that in the documentary. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his and that with BMF. That's a big segment in my book that I wrote I wrote a whole big situation in my book regarding that, man. And I know you're doing this. I want to say that right there because I was there the night that Meech had promised Puff. You know what I'm saying? He ain't have to worry about Suge Knight. He ain't have to worry about nobody from this point on. And telling Puff some shit made him think that he could talk to Wolf any kind of way. Because if anybody knew, BMF was powerful back then. They had dudes from everywhere. And Meech telling him he ain't have to worry about nobody no more. It made Puff think that he could tell Wolf that he didn't need Wolf no more.
Gene Deal also takes direct aim at the documentary's credibility, accusing it of spreading misleading narratives and presenting Kirk Burroughs as transparent while, in his view, critical truths were distorted or quietly avoided. One claim that immediately set off alarms for Gene was the suggestion that Biggie's funeral expenses came from Biggie's own financial allocation, a detail he argues Kirk would have had full knowledge of due to his deep involvement in business and money flow at the time, yet the series never pressed him with the scrutiny such a statement demanded. Gene further questions how certain figures in Biggie's circle suddenly emerged with lasting authority and control after his passing, despite reports that Biggie himself intended to distance from some of them while he was still alive. Publishing rights, branding decisions, executive positioning, and business leverage all shifted once Biggie was no longer there to approve or reject those moves, and Deal insists those weren't natural transitions but strategic power grabs executed in silence. Instead of investigating those changes, the documentary smoothed them over, avoiding the uncomfortable implications entirely. For Gene, the problem isn't just selective storytelling, it's deliberate protection, where tough questions were withheld to shield reputations and maintain alliances, leaving viewers with a polished surface while the deeper, more troubling reality remained buried.
Said in a documentary that, Diddy, he used big budget to pay for, Big's funeral.
Yeah, when I heard that ain't the first time I heard it though, bro. They said Big had paid for his funeral through his budget. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody would know that, Kirk Burrow would know that. And I heard Wayne Barrows came out and said some, but to refute that. You know what I'm saying? But if Miss Wallace got a check and the check, if she got if they had Biggie's budget and that was taken out, money was taken out that budget for his funeral, he did use it. And if anybody knew that, Kirk Burroughs would know that because he was handling the money and the operations at that time. Wayne Barrows was one of the dudes, him and Mark Pitts, that actually was managing Big's affairs. You understand? They was his manager. Big had told me that he was going to get rid of them because they didn't know what they was doing before he died. I had a conversation with Big. Big said, I'm getting rid of them because they didn't want to F me up because they didn't want to convince him to sell his publishing and his marketing to Puff. They was Puff boys. I guess they met in school or whatever like that. But Big was going to get rid of them. But because he died and his mother didn't know the business, she kept him around for years. If you look at anything that happened with the Notorious Biggs and his camp, you see Wayne Barrows on there as executive producer. And he was just a manager of some of Big affairs. He was executive producers of damn near everything that went on that had to do with. If Miss Wallace was the executive producer, he was the executive producer too. Look at some of the things that was done. And now he's suing, trying to get money from Faith because of, he's saying that she has to pay the Wallace estate, and Miss Wallace is dead. Big is dead. If the estate is anything, it's CJ, Tatiana, and Faith. That's the estate. But he's saying there's some other kind of thing that he's suing them for. So Wayne Barrows is the dude that, call it any way you want to, that's been Sherwood Forest, and he got big them in Sherwood Forest. I'm gonna put it that way. He got his estate in Sherwood Forest.
Crazy, man. But yeah, Kirk Burrows, he spoke a lot in his documentary, man. He was letting everything go. He also said that, Diddy, he did take the Rolling Stone cover from Big after Big died.
Bruh, you have to look at his sociopath, his narcissism, and see that it shows you he really didn't care about Big like he did. What Kirk didn't tell the truth about that whole thing is that even when we was in California, Kirk tried to act like that he didn't know that Puff told him that Big wasn't going to London. I know what the question you asked, but I got to get this out, bro. Is that on Thursday, me and Puff was in a limousine. Kirk Burrows was getting Puff the itinerary of what Big and what's his respect, and told him that we was leaving Saturday, this, that, and the third, the whole 9 yards. On Thursday, Puff told Kirk Burrows, Big ain't going nowhere. He told him that Thursday, Big was not going nowhere. He said, I don't care what you do, you could go do whatever you want to do, but Big ain't going nowhere. Kirk Burrows was telling him how he had set up this whole and how Arista had paid off all this money for Big to be. Puff was adamant that Big wasn't going nowhere. Now, we were shooting the Hypnotized video. Me and Big was in the Winnebago, and Big was telling me his whole life story. What he wanted to do, his plans, all this shit. He even said, yo, Gene, I would take you with me, but you love that nigga too much. Nigga, I don't love nobody like that too much. What's up? He said, yo, what's up with the money? I said, nigga, you broke. You know what I'm saying? You owe Mike Gadget $30,000 for, I'm just going in on Big, and we just talking all kinds of smoke.
The release of Sean Combs' The Reckoning, the Netflix docuseries executive produced by 50 Cent, has reignited turbulence across hip-hop, dragging old tensions back into the spotlight under the guise of revisiting Diddy's controversies. What started as a cultural deep dive quickly evolved into a flashpoint, with fans convinced the series indirectly pressures major industry figures who have chosen silence while unresolved history resurfaces. Online speculation erupted almost instantly, with rumors swirling that longtime rivals and affiliates were quietly aligning in reaction to 50's renewed influence, fueled further when Ja Rule appeared engaging digitally with someone tied to 50's past, triggering talk of coordinated pushback. Despite the noise, 50 responded with trademark mockery, implying his dominance alone is enough to make competitors band together. When Gene Deal weighed in on the tension surrounding 50 and Jay-Z, he warned that public perception has been warped by recycled clips and fragmented storytelling designed to fit whatever narrative trends online. Gene stressed that key context has repeatedly been stripped away over the years, especially regarding who was actually present during pivotal moments that later turned into speculation. According to him, Much of what's circulating now isn't rooted in full truth but in incomplete retellings that ignore how events truly unfolded behind closed doors.
Ja, how you feel about both of them going at it? You seen it?
I couldn't do nothing but see it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because 50, tried to smash him with one of the stories that we told on Art of Dialogue before. But what people don't realize is that the story that they put out there is like that there was no girls in the room. I told the story and I said that there was girls in the room. I just want to get that out there straight before I tell you how it all went about and what really happened. There was Sarah Chapman and her girlfriend. They flew with us from Atlanta. But let me just start the story like this. Check it out. Me and Puff went to this exotic bookstore, brother. You know what I'm saying? This is the first time I ever went to an exotic bookstore, with Puff. I didn't know he even did that, but we was in Atlanta. So when we went to the door, they gave him a brown paper bag. So I guess this is a place that he was used to and people knew him there. So when they gave him a brown paper bag, Puff was just going around the store, just picking items off the shelves and stuff like that, putting them in the brown paper bag. So then, I was behind him and, no Diddy, but I was about 3 feet behind him, you know what I'm saying? As he was putting stuff and putting it in his bag and stuff like that. So this one particular place that he was put up there, he had to reach up kind of high and get it. So he just started pulling things out, and he was pulling a lot of them off there. So I was like so I looked up, and the thing said butt plugs. When he walking down the things of butt plugs, I said, "Hey, yo," just to mess with him. I said, "Hey, yo, what are you getting these for?" And he said, Can I do my shopping by myself? I said, "Yes, you can." And I waited up at the register for him, because they had the big counter up there. So when he came to the counter, I said, "Yo, I'm finna see what this motherfucker this mofo is putting in his bag." Cause I know he gonna have to take everything and put it on the counter so the dude could count it, right? My man, when he came there, he gave the dude a wad of hundreds like this. You know what I'm saying? He gave him a wad of hundred and just put it up there. The dude ain't even, you know what I'm saying? He ain't even want to know what was in the bag. I was like, yo, wow. So then we was catching a G4 jet. We had to go to the Astra because we was catching a G4 jet and we was going to North Carolina to do this show. So, somehow he had Ja Rule to go with us, you know what I'm saying? And him and Ja was talking. And this whole time him and Ja is talking, he talking about Ja going at Jigga. You know what I'm saying? This is crazy. But he was talking about Ja getting at Jay-Z. And he was talking bad and talking crazy about Jay-Z and how Ja was talking about if it wasn't for him, that Jay wouldn't be the artist he was. He got him started. He wrote certain things and stuff like that to put him out there. Cause, back in the day, nobody was even effing with Jay like that. So, but Puff was he was adamant about Ja going at Jay. You understand? So, we get to the, hotel. We're in the presidential suite and all this stuff like that. So, Ja and him is, chilling and everything with Jay, eating and everything, shit like that. So then they all went to the room. It was like him, Ja, Sarah, and her girlfriend. They went to the room. I don't know what they were doing in there. I didn't give a f. But Puff told me, "Gene, do not let nobody come in this room. Don't let nobody come in this room." So, hour or so went by, whatever like that. Time went by. The doorbell rang. And it was this dude at the door saying that he was Ja's cousin. And I was like, he said, "I'm here for Ja Rule." I said, "Who you?" He said, "I'm his cousin," and everything like that. I said, "But, he busy right now." I'm telling the dude that he's busy. The dude is talking about, but I want to talk to him. I said, "Yo, bro, they don't want to be bothered." I'm trying to, tell this kid, they don't want to be bothered, bro. You know what I'm saying? He said, "Yo, that's my cousin." You know what I'm saying? I said, "Well, listen here, bro. They're in a room, they don't want to be bothered. You know, you could see that there's only one room.
What followed that knock is where the story shifts from rumor to something far more layered. Gene describes the encounter as short but charged, a moment he says most outsiders would struggle to even picture clearly. In his view, it wasn't about theatrics or pride. It was about drawing lines and confronting disrespect he believed Ja Rule crossed without hesitation. But Gene also frames the clash as more than isolated tension, suggesting it aligned with a wider pattern he claims was unfolding behind the scenes. According to him, Puff was deliberately placing individuals into volatile situations designed to trigger emotional reactions and ignite friction, especially where Jay-Z was concerned. Whether the people caught in those moments recognized they were being maneuvered or simply reacted in the heat of the environment remains unclear, and Gene argues that uncertainty is exactly what makes the entire situation feel calculated rather than accidental.
Through the room, I say, yo, bro, Jesus Christ had to come down here and take the breath out of my body before you go in that room. You understand? Next thing you know, I grabbed him and we start. It wasn't no wrestling thing like that because he couldn't handle it at the time. He could front and tell his friends because he didn't hit me up on Instagram. He could tell his friends all he want to. But that, if Puff and Ja tell you the story, that nigga was upside the piano. You understand? So now, Ja and Puff run out. They butt the neck and they was grabbing towels. You understand? They was grabbing towels. And then Puff was like, yo, Gene, what's going on? Ja was like, yo, he said, that's my cousin. I was like, yo, bruh. He tried to get in the room and I wasn't letting him get in the room, bruh. And then Puff looked at Ja like this, you know, what that looked like. He said, and then, Ja said, you don't want to be up in that room because there was a whole lot of freaking going on. So I started laughing, dude left. They went back in the room and that was it. You know what I'm saying? So now the story grew as if Ja was in there and him and Diddy was doing, you know, something. And like I said that they were doing something. I don't know what the F they were doing, bruh. The only reason I know was some freaky things going up in there that Ja really didn't even understand because he said, yo, you ain't want to be up in there because there's a whole lot of freaky on. So I was like, I wouldn't have known nothing. I wouldn't even cared. And I don't care today. But you know how the internet is. They cut and paste what they want to paste and they put what they want to put to make it seem like I was saying this dude and Puff was in there, you know, alone. And they wasn't. You understand? And that was them. You know, they did their thing, you know, up in there with the honeys in there. I guess. I can only guess. So, listen, bro. I've said this 1,000 times. It was Sarah Chapman and her girlfriend. Now, Sarah Chapman, you know, if people don't know who she is, now she's one of Puff baby mamas. But prior to her being one of Puff baby mama, this is the same girl that was dating Puff best friend, Corey Jacobs, and she was dating Tupac. You understand? So now she, like I told you before, she was the one that Puff betted in the office. He said, yo, I bet you I could get her from Gary Payton. You understand? And I didn't know she dated Gary Payton, but this is what Puff is saying. And it was a $500 bet that he said he'd get it in 2 weeks. We was out in Chicago, me, him, and Sarah. We was at some kind of function that Puff had to do a in-store and like a walkthrough, you know what I'm saying, at one of his friends' parties. So, you know, she was out there with her. Next thing you know, he got her like he said he would. You know what I'm saying? That incident with him and Ja, I feel bad, you know, kind of, sort of, really, because everybody's trying to make it seem like, you know, Ja was some kind of weirdo, you know, but it is what it is, bro. I just told you what I seen. Both of them ran out the room, butt ass, grabbing towels, you know what I'm saying, with them chicks in there, you know what I'm saying? So whatever they did, that's on them. But that's the kind of games Puff play in order to get people to do what he want them to do. You understand? He got them, he wanted Ja to go at Jay-Z, so he got these chicks to go at Ja. You understand what I'm saying? Whether he did it or fell into it, I don't know. Cause I don't know him and Jay-Z beef or why they was beefing in the first place or whatever the situation was. People who are close to either one of them may know more than I do on that, but I knew Puff was working to get Ja to go at Jay.
So what's your take? Was Gene Deal finally clearing the fog? Or are there still deeper pieces missing from the Diddy documentary that the public hasn't seen yet? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let the debate run. If you rocked with this breakdown, smash that subscribe button and stay locked in for every new upload. Catch you on the next one, fam.